So hi everybody, I'm Carolyn Growie. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Independent Living, and as was introduced was Coach Glenn, who is our Associate Director, and we are both at the Center for Independent Living, and we work with people with disabilities of all ages, all backgrounds, and what we do is try to look at ways to gain and sustain access and inclusion of people with disabilities to meet their goals. They're not our goals. It's always the person with disabilities' goals. So sometimes it may be, in the case of the parents that are here today, that you are trying to get to somebody's goal, or maybe there's a teacher or a community member that's also trying to reach that goal. But when somebody comes to us, it is the person with disability who we're trying to get with them on their journey from A to Z, whatever that journey is. We're just a person along on that journey with that person to get there. And so we try to look at what that looks like. Something that's really different about us than all the other organizations that may be working with people with disabilities is that you can come to us at any point in time from birth until you pass on. We hope that we get to be interactive with somebody at many points in time in that person's life whenever somebody chooses to have us be engaged and be involved. And so what we try to look at is that a center is able to be there, as you can see there in the definition, that what we do is engage at all different kinds of points. We really do look at working with and on behalf of that person. It can be in many different ways. I could be here for hours and hours and hours talking to you, not just looking at one small individual piece. And we would be happy to spend time talking to you at different ways. But if you look at what our reality is, and I know that for those of you sitting in the audience, this is very small, but often what we find is that there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that people just don't realize, that people have more difficulty with access to all different parts of the system. And one piece, as an example, is that people with disabilities tend to have much greater difficulty with access to transportation. So if you were to take myself as an example, I'm a person who happens to be legally blind myself. So even here in the room, maybe you wouldn't know that if you were just talking to me, but is there anything different about myself if now you see my cane? Okay, and so the difference would be, or what you would say is absolutely not. The fact that I have a cane doesn't mean that I do anything differently for me to be able to be in the community, except that I need the cane in order for you to maybe know that I have a disability, to see it, but for me to go down the steps when I leave the stage, that's what's going to make it safer for me. But it means that I didn't drive here. You wouldn't want me to. That wouldn't be safe for you, and it wouldn't be safe for me. But at the same time, when I went through school, that meant that I did things a little bit differently. But it didn't mean that I didn't have those opportunities that were available to me. So we try to take those things that would be a little bit different for everybody else in the world, because we try to look at it as everybody has something that might be different for them, because we're all unique, and try to make sure that those things are available. It might be that somebody is having multiple disabilities. Maybe there's multiple things in our life that we're trying to figure out that make it a little bit different. For ourselves, though, we think about, as an example, that in the 4 counties, that there's 128,000 people with disabilities. So we try to make sure that we're trying to reach all of those people if we can, but in the reality is we can't. So if somebody has something that they need, we want them to reach out to us. So we reach about 3,000 of the 128,000 in a given year, but we need that help from you to help come to us or let us know that you need a service, and we're happy to be there for you. And letting you know that, we want to make sure that that's there. And to let you know that sometimes that means that some people aren't getting those services that they would benefit from. So we want to make sure that that can happen. What we do, the majority of, over 51% of the services that we provide are information and referral. And some of those services are listed as the type of services that are up there that we'll get to in a second, but we do information referral, we do independent living skills, we provide a lot of peer support, we do a lot of advocacy, that could be individual and systems advocacy, or a lot of youth transition and adult transition services to keep people out in the community. So if we go to the next slide, some of those information transition services are up there. And it could be anything from a phone call to a couple hours that could be just information that somebody's calling and asking and just helping to give a data point. The next slide then, it would be some of the independent living skills, some success stories. These happen to be some of the adults with success stories. Let me just share one with you before going on to building some of the independent living topics as an example, to just share with you a little bit more about a youth that had come a couple years ago who everybody thought while this youth was in our program that they wouldn't be able to finish the couple weeks of the training during the summer, but he was able to finally finish it. We didn't know that he had had trouble in school as well because that wasn't what was shared with us, but he got through it and we were so happy he finished. His family was really happy he finished, but we weren't really sure how much he had absorbed. But then a few weeks later, he had got himself an interview, used the skills that he had got in the program, and since then he's been working at McDonald's. And he's just thrilled that he's doing his dream job. That was what he wanted to be doing. Now, does everybody end up at McDonald's? Does everybody end up with their dream job? No. Is working in food service, like we were hearing also from Project Search, a dream outcome? Not necessarily. But is somebody having a success story for themselves? Is somebody getting a piece of equipment that they might need to be successful? Somebody's success story, sometimes that is. Is somebody making their transition to the school of their choice where they want to be? It is. So go blue, that's me, even though I'm here in Florida. And so I was able to go to the school of my choice when I was wanting to go on to my next stage of my career. So we all are able to do different things at different times and be able to take those next steps. So whether it's figuring out how to read a book, or it's figuring out how to get a hold of that next person, or making those opportunities available to you, we try to build what those topics are and figure out what works for you. Sometimes it's getting money management when that first Social Security check comes. Sometimes it's figuring out how to fill out that paperwork so you can get your Social Security check. Sometimes it's being able to figure out how to solve roommate issues or how to communicate with your parents, because now you're a teenager and mom and dad have different ideas than we do as adults, right? And I'm so happy that my kids are now in their 20s, and guess what? They're not living at home anymore, right? They get to make their own choices. And it's always great when they call and they say, well, Mom, you were right about that. And you go, I guess I was a little bit older, right? Or we can say, well, let's see how we can solve that problem together. What would be an answer? And then we're able to sit down and think about that, right? Or when we're able to say, there's another option. What would some of those options be? And have them help figure out what would the solution be. And so those are some of those pieces of how we can build some of those things into some of our trainings. We also offer a lot of peer support. Some of that peer support comes because we are people with disabilities, offering those services out to people with disabilities. We have all different sorts of disabilities from our staff. 100% of our staff right now have disabilities, but at least 51% of our staff are required federally to have disabilities. So we have different types of disabilities ourselves. Some of our staff are persons who are deaf, some of our staff are persons who have cerebral palsy, some of us are visually impaired, some have traumatic brain injuries, some have had different experiences with spinal cord injury. We've got all different types that make up who we are, and what we're able to do is bring those experiences collectively together to help give resources out to the community. And then we have support groups or working collectively in the trainings to try to bring those things forward. What we also do is when we're out in the community, we advocate for that change to take place. And so when we do that, we're able to take that either individually to help make something better, whether that's at an IEP, or that's out at a doctor's office, or it could be out at the community college or on a job for one person, or it might be a full systems change. Like, isn't it wonderful of all the great work that's been happening here in Crestview and all the new up and coming things that will happen, and that there'll be an accessible route for people to walk, for people to participate, for people to be engaged, and what that will look like. when that money comes back from Tallahassee to be able to be doing work in our community and have things be successful, it's all great. Well, some of that is much bigger than a one-person access, and so that's some of that systems work that we do. And when we're doing the transition work, so we're going to go to that slide, that's also in a two-phase piece, excuse me. And so when we're doing it for youth, it's about that transition spot. There was a law that was passed here in the state of Florida. So for parents, transition should be talked about for yourselves when you're leaving 6th grade, when you're 12 years old, going to the next grade, when you're going to 7th grade, when you're going to 8th grade, when you're going to high school, when you're going on into each grade in high school, you're getting ready to leave the high school programs. Maybe you're going on to the project search. Maybe you're going to continue to trade school or college. All along in those transitions, you should be hearing about what your options are. One of those options that you need to know about is that CIL is out here. We are here not because we are going to be your go-to for everything, but we are one of those go-tos that you're welcome to contact at any point in time, and we will be there to help guide you if we can. And if we don't know the answer, we're going to try to connect you to that best next step. Or we're going to keep fighting for the right answers for you. Not do it by yourself, but have somebody guide you with it. And then when you're older and you may need something else that comes along, we will also be there again for you. Now that may be you as the parent who might be having something else that comes up yourself, or you as the grandparent who has something come up as yourself. You may be the person who may have a disability that might need something too. It may not just be your student with disability. So we might be there then for you as well. So we have a lot of strengths, being people with disabilities ourselves, having been in this business for a long time. We're going on 45 years of doing this work. We have been able to be in the community for a long time. Our main office is in Escambia, but we do cover from the border of Escambia to the border of Walton. But if you move anywhere in the country, every county in the country is covered by the Rehabilitation Act, which is now then being covered through ACL, through Washington, D.C., that CILs are supposed to be available to assist throughout communities to help make life better for folks in the community. And so we will actually go to that last slide there and just show our transition there, which will have some contact information. And then our Miles van, go back one slide, sorry. Our Miles van you might see out at community events. We have it here actually with us today as well, that we can bring for folks who you may know that are in the community who can't come to events like today. We can actually come out to homes or places where people can't get here, or you might see us at community events with our tent or our van, and we can actually do services out in the community. It's our mobile independent living office through our van that we were able to get through Impact 100, and we're happy to provide services that way. You can reach us at 850-595-5566 or online at info@cilnwf.org. Also Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, @cilnwf.org is the person who most often works with our teens. And our website is cilnwf as in Frank.org, and you're welcome to go there to look up things for us. We'd be happy to work or answer any questions with you anytime. And for today, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you would like. I just want you to know that your journey matters, and what we do is we assume that everybody is competent to do anything you want. We know that if you try, that we're here, and that we all have failures at times, that what we try to do is work through those changes to get to those next steps so that we can all have as many successes and opportunities in our life to do things together that we each want to do every step of the way. We're available all the time for you. Thank you so much.